Tim, I was telling Joey, a friend of mine just got a Mazda Miata, and he brought it over, and now my current ADHD hyperfixation is looking for one that I can just buy outright. And I found one, and it's got like nearly 400,000 miles on it. And the guy
it's a car, right? Yeah. Okay.
What did you think it was?
It obviously means a lot to Tim.
You spoke at the speed of an angry Italian chef, and I didn't know what it was.
But anyways, it's my current ADHD hyperfixation. Yeah.
Tim, I wanted to say when you came in, it's good to see you. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Fine. Yeah.
Still trying not to have heat stroke. Other than that, A-okay.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it when it's warm.
Yeah. It's a bit warm.
Yeah. I feel like it's the last 5 or 6 episodes that you've complained about the heat.
Because the heat index is 116 today.
What about the heat glossary?
It's about 90-something.
We still don't care.
I care. It's hot.
You have a fan.
Just one.
And?
Shout out to my fan.
The northern boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, Slade and I were guests on Casting Views yesterday.
Yeah, how'd it go?
Yeah, it was really good.
We had a great time because, I mean, everybody loves Dan. It's hard to not.
Yeah. Very likable.
Yeah, Dan's a great guy.
Yeah, and that's a good episode. By the time this comes out, it should be out. So make sure you check out Slade and I on Casting Views.
Yeah, the topic's pretty good. It's what if video game logic was real?
Okay, I like that a lot. I'll give that a listen.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We spoke about Josh Forget About It Scar a lot as well. Tim did an Italian-American flick of the wrist when I said that.
Bene. It's Josh's iconic catchphrase, Bene.
Yeah, so I've always heard him say. Tim, now that we have a chance to talk about it...
He said it's been a good episode.
And thank you all for listening to Game Club Pod. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Talk about something else.
Tim, now that we're on record and you can say freely without being scared of Josh Benet Scar, what did you think of his roast on you?
What roast? I was just on an episode of Talking Smack.
I didn't know you were from Canada.
It sounded closer to like Dutch Canadian.
It was very funny.
It was funny. It was really good.
Josh, you need to try harder with the British accent.
Yeah.
I found, Slade, that Americans can do a really good British accent if they try and be Australian. If they try and do what they think Australian is, it comes out English.
I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and it's these 2 American guys, and one of them was in England recently, and he was talking about watching English TV, and the show he landed on was Bargain Hunt.
Nice.
And he was just like, the show is mental. They're just like, we've given you £200, you've lost $350, no one's won, but like they always say, tip top Bip Bop, and they kick the screen. The
thing is, Slade, you'll never know how accurate that is. It's a show about 2 teams take an elderly man around a bunch of garage sales and go, well, this is worth lots of money, and then they take it to auction and it's never worth anything.
No, they give each team £200 and they're just like, I'm going to spend 150 of it on an MDF table. I'm sure it'll make $4,000, and then it goes to auction and it's like, you've won 20 quid, and the host is always like, you've lost 120 pounds, and that is like, that's a shame.
It's a strange world.
It would never fly in the States. It would never fly because on American shows there has to be a winner. It's like, well, both teams lost money. How do we pick a winner? Oh, well, I lost the most money, so I'm the winner. But that means that I lost the least money, so I should be the winner. Let's fight it out.
How do you feel about that statement, Slade?
Now Tim has me questioning TV if there does always have to be a winner.
Oh, there does have to always
be a winner. In American
winner.
shows, there's always a fucking winner. Every time.
Do you know my favourite American TV show? That's not a serious one. I love, the Storage Hunters.
Yes. Have you ever seen the one where it's the old dude and he says like walk or something, and there's the big black guy. And he goes, "Watch your profanity."
Yeah.
It is my favorite clip in that whole show.
I've heard
Also,
the meme. I've not seen the actual episode.
I also forgot. I have props for this episode. I'm gonna mute my mic and cut the camera. I completely forgot to get them.
All right.
Oh my
Well, Joey and I will briefly talk about Storage Wars. There is I love on Storage Wars when you get those people that are just like, they're not allowed to obviously approach the lot that they're like doing, so they have to like bid on it at face value. But you always see people who are just like, I think there's 38 gold bars under that blanket that's shaped like a TV.
And they're like, oh my God, really? It was a TV. I really like that there's 4 or 5. So for anyone who doesn't know what Storage Wars is, it's an, in quote marks, a reality TV show because there's nothing real about it.
It's completely staged.
They go and they bid on storage units that people are meant to have not paid their rent for. So the storage company will sell it and then this company will auction them off. And there are 4 or 5 teams that always win. They're the main characters of the show. My favorite thing about it is they all have their own catchphrase for when they bid.
Yes.
So when they bid, you'll just hear them go, money, or bada bing.
What was that? So that's $30 for him.
And the best episode I've ever seen is the only time I've seen not one of them win a bid. Some guy came up and he went, $500, and he didn't even open it, and he was like, okay, $500, and then they open it and they go, oh my God, it was a meth lab, and the guy puts up his hood and runs away. It's so strange.
I think the best there's the one really obnoxious dude who just yells yep.
Yeah.
Did you hear me talking about the money?
Yeah.
Anyway, we should get into the episode. Welcome to the Game Club Pod. This episode contains spoilers for Amnesia, the bunker.
Money.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Game Club Pod. I am joined by Archie and Tim. Thank you for being here. Archie, how are you doing?
I'm good. Tim,
do you want to explain that?
No, that's fine. Hopefully everybody listened to the casting views and they know my true name is Archibald.
Cool. Tim, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Just a little bit confused by the Archibald.
Well, you should have been there.
Would were able.
Well, c'est la vie. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to keep a quick question for you today before we start the episode. What was your favourite episode of Podmas?
Oh, I really like Tacky Gifts for Gamers.
Very good. Is good. Yeah, any other Slade?
You know what, Joey? I actually did feel guilty afterwards.
Yeah, I'm fucking right you did.
And I went back and I looked at all the episodes and I'm like, man, we had some bangers. I always liked the, what do we call it? The Game Awards?
The Last Chance Awards.
Last Chance Awards.
That was your favorite one of Podmas, the one that Tim and I got wrong.
Yes. See, I felt guilty about it until I remembered how poorly y'all executed something so simple. And I was like, nah, you know what? It's fine.
Bad workman blames his tools. Mine was the Hunger Games. So let's crack right. Tools? No comment. So, Amnesia the Bunker is what we're here to talk about today. Gentlemen, I wanted to check you both completed the game.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. How long did it take you?
I mean, all in all, probably like 6-7 hours.
I was going to say 7 or 8, maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So lost a bunch.
Well, unfortunately, the Xbox PC app does not track your time, so I don't have exact things.
The Series S.
We'll get into that. So, Amnesia the Bunker was released on the 6th of June 2023. It was released by Frictional Games. It's a survival horror, one of and the latest of the Amnesia series. It's available on PlayStation, Xbox and PC and received pretty good scores. 9 out of 10 on Steam, 4.3 out of 5 on GOG and 8 out of 10 on IGN. I'm going to go to initial thoughts and I'm going to start with Tim, please.
So, I thought this game had a really, really interesting tutorial. It was an interesting timepiece. I'm always fascinated by like World War II stuff. So,
Really, this was World War One, so I'm surprised it fascinated you.
Well, that's
It was World War One.
Oh, okay, well, old warfare, fascinating thing. And I really like the idea, and I'm going to stress the idea of having to constantly loop back around to like this engine that you're having to fuel for the lights. I think that's a really interesting concept. And by extension, the thing that you can do with the fuel, because like there's a note on the wall that says like, hey, make sure you're not smoking any cigarettes or firing any guns near the engine fuel because it's really flammable. It's like, okay, well, that's probably going to come into play later. And when you're being chased by the monster, there's a really you have this really interesting decision of, do you throw the fuel and then shoot it to like scare it off for a few seconds because it doesn't like light, and most things don't like being on fire. So
it's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired. It's only for the finest connoisseurs of burn victims. And that was a really interesting gameplay decision that kind of came naturally as an extension of having to constantly loop back around to the engine. But I didn't feel scared or tense or in any sort of peril outside of maybe the first time you saw the monster coming out of the hole in the wall and the bit where it's chasing you in the Cthulhu-esque tombs under the ground. Because, and this is me kind of going back to Outlast, I think horror games need to stick with one horror trope and stick to that. Not, there's a monster and suddenly we're in Cthulhu. There's an insane asylum, we've got a laboratory underground. You know, it's not a twist if there's no sort of hint at all. Okay. It's just random. But yeah, gameplay was fine. Central gameplay loop was fine. It wasn't as scary as the original Amnesia, in my opinion, but I may be looking at that with rose-tinted glasses. More than happy to hold my hands up and say I might be wrong on that. It was fine.
It was fine. And it took you about 6 hours to complete.
Yes, I was stuck in, the room where you get the wind-up torch, which, by the way, is actually another fun mechanic. You have this wind-up pull cord torch, which, fun fact, is historically accurate. So the thing is, it only lasts like a couple minutes, this torch, and winding it up makes a lot of noise. So you need to do it somewhere where you know that you're safe, and any sort of noise attracts this monster to you. So there are very inopportune moments where the torch stops working.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's very dark when the torch isn't lit.
It is. And the room where you get that, we have to shoot the lock to enter the basement. That took me an hour to work out.
Oh my God.
Because I was thinking this is much more of a puzzle game than a shooter game. Maybe the gun will act like essentially an extension for solving puzzles. So I don't want to shoot anything unless I absolutely have to. So I'm going around looking for a key or a switch or a pulley or a vent or something. And eventually I was like, I need to look this up. So I ended up looking it up and the guy just like shot the lock. I was like, all right, fine.
Fair enough. Slade, your thoughts on the game?
Sure. Did y'all play this on PC or like mouse and keyboard or with controller?
Controller.
So mouse I played this with keyboard. Controller on the Series S, and I think the controls are the scariest part of the whole game. Now, there's one point where, like, in the very beginning, when you're running through the trenches, and it tells you, like, use right RS, which means right stick, to open the door. That's not true. You have to pull the right trigger and then use RS. So, like, I don't think anybody actually tested outside of the, team for the controls, is what it seems like. Like, when you first get grenades, there's never a message that pops up and says, hey, here's how you open your inventory. Okay. Or at least it didn't pop up from these are like quality control complaints that should be pretty, maybe somebody in fractional games, tested it, but didn't get nobody, at the office next door who's never played a video game to come give it a shot.
Okay. Before you move on from that, can I just interrupt with one thing on the topic of controls? I shouldn't have to throw out gang signs to reload a gun.
No, you shouldn't.
It's awful, the reload system.
Speaking of guns in Battlefields, can I tell y'all something?
We know what its prop is now, don't we?
In no rational world is there an ammo box with a single bullet in it.
Yeah.
Here, look. Here's one I have right here.
There's this prop full of bullets. I wonder where the American is.
Hasn't even been opened.
There's one bullet in there, Slade.
It's just littered with bullets, ready, box after box that I have. These are pistol rounds, which is your primary weapon. Check this shit out, right? When you get pistol rounds, it's not full, but look how many are in there. Because, I mean, if you're a soldier, you just shove as many as you want into your pocket, theoretically. You know, they had ammo laying around the battlefields of France, as far as I'm aware, and they're still finding bullets and bombs. Obviously, there should be more than one bullet in a box.
But it's not scary if you have millions of bullets.
Look at that. There's 100 rounds right here in a bandolier. These are pretty common.
But it's not scary if you have lots of bullets.
No, but the bullets aren't really... You can't kill the monster, though. So the bullets are really for puzzle solving and scaring off the stupid rats.
No, you can shoot the monster twice and it will make it go away.
Wait, yeah, but it's never a permanent solution is what I'm saying.
But it's not scary if you constantly make it go away.
Right.
It's about resource management in a survival horror.
So just make it like a box of 5 and remove some of the boxes is what I'm saying. One at a time is just kind of dumb.
Hard disagree, but okay.
Okay. They're French. That's another problem I have with the game.
Why were they speaking English the entire time? That's something that my girlfriend and I talked about. The Germans spoke German. The British spoke British. Why were the French speaking English?
Right. I do think the audio design needs a good little praise, but I think that's kind of a fractional games thing because, like, a lot of times I would guarantee if I could have like an overview of the map, the monster wasn't near me, but you could like it always felt like it was around the corner or somewhere nearby, and then eventually you kind of became comfortable with said background noise, and then the monster would pop up going oogie woogie woo,
just like that. How did you do that impression so accurately?
Thank you. But that's really the only problems I have with the game.
Okay. Any praises that you want?
I think I did just praise it for its audio design.
And is that it?
It had a nice atmosphere.
It did have a nice atmosphere. I think they could have done more with like the location and the setting of the horrors of the First World War. I get it. I actually like the idea, and it's a historically accurate thing because, like, one of the things in trench warfare was they were trying to tunnel under trenches.
One of the things in trench warfare was they had a horrible monster kicking it around.
Well, stories like that would spread among soldiers and whatnot, and the rats were always a problem in trenches. I mean, there's a lot of good things that, you know, you could tell actually got influence from real world stuff, which I like to see. And like, I think it was either the British or the French who like caused the biggest explosion prior to the nuclear bombs by like tunneling under a German line and essentially removing a hill from the landscape because of how many explosives they put underneath it.
They inverted a hill.
No, seriously, they really inverted a hill.
Joey, your thoughts?
I thought this game was excellent. I hard disagree on the resource management comments because I think the atmosphere was spot on. The thing I didn't like, I'm glad you touched on the controls because I think it's an Amnesia thing. This is the first Amnesia I've played all the way through. I started A Machine for Pigs, but that was when I was actually scared by games, and I thought, I don't want to play this anymore because I'm very scared. This one, there was moments where it was scary. I thought that I loved the idea of a central safe room where your gas was. Did you guys notice that when you collected, it was either the dynamite plunger, and I'll come into why you collect these things in a minute. Did you notice that a monster hole was revealed in the gas room?
Yeah.
That wasn't there before?
Yes.
So I felt like that took the rug from under your feet. And there was one moment, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which may be one of my favorite moments in recent memory for gaming. And I just thought it was mega powerful. But I'm going to go into the story really quickly. I'm going to do a really quick rundown of what Amnesia the Bunker is. Go on, Slade.
Sorry, I just thought, did y'all ever look up the German guy in the prison, what he was yelling at you?
So I did German at school for about 5 years. So while my German's kind of rusty, I got a lot of what he was saying.
Okay.
I know a phrase you can say, Tim. It's not really applicable to what the German man can say.
What is it?
The Gestapen.
What about ich liebe spielen mit mein kleiner Hund in die Großbibliothek?
Something about my dog in the library.
I had to play with my small dog in a big library.
No, what you said to me was gestapen ich habe eine Kinderüberfahren.
Yeah, gestapen ich habe eine Kinderüberfahren.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. So the story, World War One. We've talked about the fact that it's in the war. You play as Henry Lambert, a French soldier running through the trenches from the Germans. There's gunfire, explosions overhead, and you lose your friend Augustin Lambert. Same name, no relation apparently. You're trying to find Augustin, and you get knocked out by an explosion. When you wake, you are in a locked bunker. Everything has gone horribly wrong, and there are blood, bodies everywhere. You have to explore the bunker and read notes on how to escape, and you find out quite quickly that you need to blow open a tunnel that was currently blown shut. And you do this via collecting dynamite and the plunger for the dynamite. So those are the only two items you need to get in the game to complete it.
Can I say it's a breath that the fact that there's a very clear-cut single objective in a game that doesn't, in a horror game that doesn't really change.
Nope.
That's a massive breath of fresh air, because a lot of horror games fall into the trap of you need to find the door. Oh no, the wall has fallen in. Now you need to stop the scientist. It's like it does a lot of very much darting, a lot of horror games in terms of their objective. This very much stays focused, which is good.
Yeah, and so this bunker that you're locked in is massive, and there are different areas, like there's the arsenal, the infirmary, the soldiers' quarters, to name a few, the prison where you meet the German that meet is a strong word, but where you find the German that Slade talked about, who's strapped to a chair, and screaming and trying to do everything he can to get trapped there. The monster of the game, which is called the Beast. It's never given any other name until the very end when you find out the Beast. But that essentially is an AI-controlled monster that stalks you throughout the whole game. And besides the Beast and the rats, those are your only enemies. You can kill the rats, you cannot kill the Beast. Did you both understand and find out what the deal with the Beast was?
I did not understand it, really.
No.
Okay. So to properly understand, I had to look this up. You have to play Amnesia, the
Dark
one
Descent?
Before this one. Is it the Dark Descent?
Is it the Dark Descent?
I think Dark Descent will be first, then Machine for Pigs, then...
No, it's Amnesia Rebirth you need to play.
Rebirth.
Okay.
So there's a whole spiel in that one about where these monsters and the supernatural things come from. And if you remember at the very start of the game where you're trying to rescue, and this is the biggest spoiler in the game, by the way, when you're trying to rescue Augustin Lambert, you fill up from the hole. You fill up a canteen with the water from a puddle that's next to him and make him drink it. That water is corrupted by what's causing all of the supernatural. So the Beast is Augustin Lambert.
Oh, so you caused it the whole time.
So you caused it. But did you find there's a toy rabbit? Did you find that?
Now, I read about this because I was doing some reading trying to understand something afterwards. And if I'm honest, I was skim reading.
Okay.
So I saw a reference to the toy rabbit, but I don't entirely know what it is.
So the toy rabbit is something that you found so within this bunker, you find the area that in the initial bit where you gave Adam the poison water, you find this rabbit that Adam, I keep calling him Adam, Augustin Lambert, had picked up, and Adam Lambert from that band that I can't remember, Queen, he plays with now. Adam Lambert from Queen got a toy rabbit that he wanted to give to his children when he saw them after the war. So it means a lot to him. Now, if you find the rabbit, you can use it once by throwing it at the Beast and it stops dead in its tracks. It'll pick it up and then it'll run away. That's the only use of it. Yeah, but that's the only way of using it.
So is that why? And I found this more to be an annoying trope in this game, because This game does a lot of things right and does a lot of very tropey things where every monologue that you have because there's like monologue notes as well as like lore notes from like the corporal or the captain or someone else in the bunker.
Right.
But the monologues are always, I can't believe the horrible thing I did. I can't sleep because of the horrible thing I did. When will the horrible thing stop? It's like, just say the horrible thing.
Well, that's like an Amnesia thing, though. Like if you play some of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
But like, I get what you mean, Tim, but I kind of just check that off as like an Amnesia trope. I get what you mean. I still think it's an
annoying trope.
Yes.
Cool. Glad we came to a consensus there because I agree. But when I said that the rats and the beast are the only monsters you can be attacked by, I was wrong. There is one humanoid enemy once you get to the ruins where you find the rabbit.
Of course,
you guys found him,
isn't there? Yeah,
the ghoul.
Yeah. It's a soldier. It's one of the soldiers, but he's gone insane. But basically, the underneath where they were digging this trench, there's Roman. They called them Roman ruins. They're not Roman.
No,
they are what's causing all of the supernatural.
They look Lovecraftian.
Right. Yeah, it is Lovecraftian, and you have to kill this humanoid man, and after that you blow up the exit, and this is where Tim talks about the Cthulhu cave at the very end of the game, where you switch from kind of stealthy hide from the monster gameplay to straight up run away from the monster and figure out how to escape gameplay.
Right. And that it kind of reminded me of, y'all remember when we played Outlast and how the game, like when you're in the asylum, it's pretty good. Tim's eyes are already glazing over, but when you're in the asylum, it's good. But the second you have to go to the underground lab, you're just kind of like over it.
Well, this is exactly what Tim said.
Right.
And I do agree to a point, but my only defense of this game is that the Cthulhu cave was a relatively small part of this game, whereas Outlast, it felt like the final quarter was completely wasted.
Right. Or like the final bit of RE7 where it's like, in the boat where the spooky house, the spooky house is great. I kind of have last level fatigue. Is that what you want to call it?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it, and I completely agree. There is 2 endings to this game, but they are basically the same. If you give, and I imagine you both got the same one because you didn't find the rabbit. If you throw the rabbit at the beast in the final level, the only difference is, at the very end, you escape the trenches and you fall into the puddle only to be tracked down by the Germans and probably killed.
Yep.
And the beast escapes. In the version where you throw the rabbit to him in the last bit, the beast doesn't escape. He never emerges from the tunnel. So the beast stays in. That's considered the good ending.
I guess because nobody else has to deal with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Suppose, yeah.
Exactly. What was your favourite part of this game, Slade?
I don't know. Doing a little bit of the puzzle solving, I do like. I know it gets repetitive, but the finding like little logs from other soldiers was always fun. And I do like, I complained a lot about Resident Evil for like having to hunt forever for notes.
Yeah.
I like that they made it easy that you just found a body, ripped the dog tag off of them, and there's like the lock combination. I really, really appreciated that. It kept you from turning over everything.
Well, that Slade's talking about a room that's really near your central safe space, and it's all of their lockers, and the lockers are chock full of really useful stuff. And you get into the lockers using their dog tags.
Yeah, they have like the codes written on the underside of it.
Yeah.
It does make me think, though, the last time I was like looking through this, I was or not through this game, mind you, but looking through boxes like this was Half-Life Alyx. And I was wondering if it would be just as cathartic fun to dig through things. To give you a good idea of what I mean. Like, you go up to like, let's just say like a desk drawer or something, and you like pull it open with the controller. That's not as fun as it is in VR to do. And I know that has nothing to do with the game, but it was just something I was thinking about. Because I was wondering how they would translate to a controller, and, to me, not very well. I don't know. I think the map is not too confusing to like get around, and at least it's somewhat, and after you've been running up and down the same hallways for a while, you don't need to use the flashlight.
Yeah.
You can kind of remember where you were going. I think the places were distinct enough to know.
I also really liked that when you had the lights on. So as Tim said, there's a generator, and you can turn the lights on, and that deters the beast from just wandering around. It will only appear in certain places then. but in order to turn the lights on, you have to daisy chain the light. So you can't turn on light 3 without having light 2 and 1 on as well.
Right. And I think uses more fuel, if I'm not mistaken.
It does, but I really liked that you can use the lights that you've turned on as a route back home. I think that made traversing the bunker really much easier.
Right.
What if the beast isn't a beast and he's just someone with a migraine, so he doesn't like the light?
I imagine he probably is, Tim.
He's probably got a massive migraine, and that's the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I thought every area was kind of distinct enough to know where you were. I do think people who hoard stuff in games, I'm not that person. And I've said this before, like some people will get an item and they won't use it for the whole game. And then they finish playing like, oh, I should have used that. Every gas can I got, if I wasn't using it to get rid of rats, it was going right in the generator.
Well, I think when I found, did you find the barrel that you can fill up? As soon as I did that, I never used another gas canister.
I was putting gas canisters just on the floor in front of the generator.
No, there was there's an infinite barrel that you can fill bottles full of gas from.
Well, I wish I found that. That would have been helpful.
Yeah, but this is the point. You don't need to find everything to get through the game.
Right.
Tim, what was your favourite moment?
Favorite moment? I mean, there was one puzzle in particular. I don't remember the specifics of why you had to do it this way. I just know you had to do it this way. But we talked about the gun being essentially... and I think Slade, as the American, is going to laugh at this. The gun being a form of long-range puzzle solving.
Technically, it's a solution.
There you go.
Remember, kids, it's only a war crime if you lose. All right.
Slade's comments do not reflect those of the Game Club podcast.
So the thing that I really liked, there was a puzzle, and I think it's because there was a monster hole right by where you essentially need to aim your gun at like this lockbox or something, and the only way to really do it was to shoot the gun while being hidden under the bed.
Yep.
So you know the bit I'm on about, say, Joey, do you remember the bit I'm on about?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just a really neat combination of the two central mechanics of this game. And I thought that's a fun bit of design. Good job, developers.
I think it could have just like really been like a little more pulled into its focus, because I think we all agreed that the game is pretty like well focused.
Mm-hmm.
I think just a little. That's why I'm wondering if they had anybody outside of Fractional Games to look at it, or was it just the regular dev team and they didn't?
I think I did have two other moments that I liked, and unfortunately they were bugs.
Can I just say before we go on, we've said fractional every single time. It is frictional games. So that was my mistake at the start.
So
sorry, frictional. I know you are
only
listening.
a fraction of them were working in QA. So
well done.
Hey.
There's a lot of friction between departments. So
is this what it feels like to be you, Slade?
Yes.
So I had two bugs, both of which involved things falling out of the world. The first one was me. I fell out the world.
Cool.
I stood up from a bed too early, and it pushed me under the floor and out at the bottom of the world. Amazingly, the game isn't just like, nah, you're dead. It actually dumps you pretty much exactly where you were trying to be, but it's very clear you've fallen through the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Nice bit of, I guess, fail-safing there. The other one was the beast fell out the world at one point.
Cool.
And there was a point, and there's a point not too far from the safe room. You got like this series of bunk beds in a room. There's like rats kicking around there, and the beast was in like this corridor kind of outside, and I'm kind of under the bed poking at it because it's one of the first times I'd actually seen the thing, so I'm trying to get a good look of what I'm like working with essentially. And it came in, it crept around, it almost looked under the bed opposite from where I was. It came around to the side of the bed, so its foot can't have been more than that far, from like a couple of inches from my head. So I turned my camera, and I saw the beast rotate, clip through the wall, and then I saw an arm fall through the floor. It's like,
nice.
Oh, okay.
We like threat eliminated.
I was like, all right, fine, moving on.
The beast has gone to the back rooms. So my favourite part of this game is the one that I said is one of my favourite in recent gaming memory. And that was, did you both get to go in the pillbox? Did you find the key for the pillbox?
It's not ringing a bell.
No.
That's such a shame. So the pillbox had very little in it. But they talk a lot in the notes about finding the key to the pillbox. The guy that has all the answers is in the pillbox. Turns out he doesn't. There's a door, and it leads to a ladder, which you climb, which goes to this pillbox, and you can see a massive, massive view of a horizon, and it's all these fields. And after being in the bunker, it's very natural for you to sort of stop and stare at that. Yeah. And if you stare at it for more than 4 seconds, you hear a bullet twang past your head, and you have to go down. Now, the reason I love that is because you spend all this time in the bunker thinking, so I'm going to get killed by this monster, and I absolutely forgot how awful what was going on outside was.
Yep.
And the second that happened, a genuine panic when I was playing, and I had to duck and look around and search for what I needed in the pillbox, only to be disappointed with basically nothing. And then you go straight back down the ladder and you're being chased by this monster again. It's like there's no winning. I know that they reminded you that war was going on constantly with this game because you would be hiding and then all of a sudden you'd hear a shell above you and the screen would shake. But that moment where you realise that shell going off above you isn't just there, it's like targeted onto you as well as a soldier, just blew me away. I thought it was brilliant.
That sounds like a really cool moment.
That's really cool.
Yeah. If I can find it on YouTube, I'll send you both.
It seems to me like that would have just been better to be like maybe not locked, but like a corridor you could have found off in a room. I get that it's rewarding, I guess.
Yeah, I quite like that. Not everyone will have that experience. So, what did you think of the Beast?
It wasn't as scary as the first Amnesia, in my opinion.
It's scarier when you don't get to see it.
Well, again, this is what I was talking about this with my girlfriend. She likes horror stuff, so we were talking, and we were comparing this to a lot of horror movies. One of the things that makes films like Cloverfield so successful, like the original Cloverfield, is the fact that you don't see the monster. You see little glimpses of it, and it's left to the audience to piece that together and use their imagination. Because, it's never explicitly shown what the monster is, so the audience ends up using the worst part of their imagination to glue everything together. Mm-hmm. And Amnesia 1 didn't have that, but at least had something like, it had little hints like here and there before you actually got to see like the half-face ripped man or whatever it was. This was very much just like, oh, he's in the corridor and he's on all fours and he's big and got claws. Great.
I didn't see the monster for about an hour and a half, I don't think.
It took a while. It took a very long time.
I understand what you're saying. I actually think the build-up to the monster could have been extended. Mm-hmm. But I think you see a claw when he takes the guy who shows you where the gun is.
Yes.
And then you don't see anything again for probably 45 minutes to an hour.
Is it the Aliens game is the one I'm thinking of?
Isolation.
I think is it like the first 2 or 3 hours of that game, they don't, you don't even see it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And I think this game could have done that, or like I said, I think it's got pretty good audio in it. And it could have left you, just hearing it in the background because you're making too much noise, and you would have panicked on your own about that.
I wonder if they could have gotten away with that kind of length of time, though, because like the game, relatively speaking, if you were to run through it from start to finish without up too much, it's a relatively short game.
It took me 4.5 hours.
Okay, so
and an hour and a half that's no monster.
So if you're wondering whether or not that should probably have more build-up, that would probably suggest that half the time you don't see the monster. Yeah, I wonder if that's like an appropriate ratio.
I think so.
Do you know, the thing is, I have a lot of praise for this game, but one of the things there's another thing that I'll come on to in a second that I didn't like. One of the things I didn't like was that the monster was nothing that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
It was like a dog man with his clothes ripped, and it's
a half man, half bear, half pig.
Man, bear, pig.
But
it was basically man, bear, pig.
Yeah.
And besides the atmosphere that it was put in, if it was in any other game, I don't think it would have been scary.
No. You could basically put that thing into any old game that has some form of enemy, and it would probably fit just fine.
Yeah.
There's no,
I agree.
I'm harping back to Amnesia 1 because it's the one that it's the only other Amnesia game that I've played.
Okay.
the guy with the half ripped face, and you'll know who I mean if you grew up and like watching YouTube around the time that Amnesia 1 was around. There was an element of body horror to that, and I didn't get that with this. It was just it was a beast, but it was just a beast. That's it.
What
do you think, Slade?
No, I'm trying to find if you remember, Tim, forever ago when you and I first met, we played games on YouTube.
We did.
And I'm trying to remember the one I played, because what it did was
was it Bendy in the Ink Machine?
No, not Bendy in the. It was an Amnesia game that I played for the channel. I'm gonna try and find it real quick, so ignore me for a few minutes. But you never really like saw the monster. You would kind of see like limbs or whatever, but it would be shadowed out.
That sounds like a machine for pigs, because
I don't know. It wasn't a machine for pigs. It was the one where you were a baby.
You're a baby?
Yeah.
Amnesia the baby.
That's the one.
Hang on. I'll find it in a second.
Amnesia the baby shark descent.
No, it's not an Amnesia game at all. It's Among the Sleep. Never mind.
So I'm gonna get the photo. I'm gonna get a picture of the monster from Amnesia 1, and I just think it's more scary. I've
this
written the dark
really
decent.
Really good for those listening, Tim.
Well, just Google it yourself, and then you can listen to us, talk about it.
Don't Google it yourself. Be obtuse. Send us tweets that say, I shouldn't have to put work in to listen to your podcast.
And
at Slade Plays Games. At
Wembembo.
But not at Joey Fitz.
Because I'm on your side.
There you go. That's what it looks like.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that. It looks like a thing with a big old mouthy boy. In the context that I've seen it before in Tim's YouTube meme world, that no longer is scary to me at all.
Well, no, but at the time.
But yeah, I think if you compare that to the monster now, the monster in the bunker is a far more generic idea of like a mutation.
Yeah.
Can I tell you the other thing that I didn't like that they did?
Sure.
Go on.
At the start of the game, there's a bunch of text about the game, and they say the words, if you think you can do it, you probably can.
Ooh.
I debunked this in the first 40 minutes of playing because I saw the big old rubble that you need to blow up with dynamite and a plunger. And then I found 4 barrels and I rolled them over there, explosive barrels, and then I shot them and it made a bigger explosion than the dynamite did, and it did nothing. I found that statement was wildly over the top. And whilst I think there is probably you can move objects to hide yourself, might have been a better explanation. You can put objects in front of yourself to hide yourself. You can do basically anything in this game was not true.
Yeah, it sounds like an office motivational poster. Teamwork makes the dream work thing isn't required.
Yeah, that's a big claim to make too. That's not something you should say.
It's not exactly Tears of the Kingdom.
But if they never said that, I wouldn't have ever questioned it, and I would have gone, oh, well, I'm not supposed to do this. But then because they said it, I'm like, maybe I'm going to try a new stupid way to complete the game.
Right. Yeah, that's not something that is not in this game. Like no. GTA has more of, if you think you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, any more thoughts before we move on to scores, gentlemen?
No.
No?
Nah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to start with Slade, please.
For what, scores?
Scores and recommendations.
Scores. I'm going to recommend this, but it's going to be kind of a weird score, and part of me feels like I'm tottering between a 6.5 and a 7 with the recommendation, and I'm leaning more towards the 6.5, to be honest.
Okay,
because I could think of more things that just need to be polished and fixed that would have given this game to me like an 8 or better. But so I think I'm going to go with the 6.5.
Okay, sorry, I know that you just said some things could be polished. Can you give some examples of what, if it was more polished, you would give it an 8 out of 10?
Mainly the controls and the tutorialization could have been better. I shouldn't have to like pause the game and then like go, read a tutorial somewhere else. Like the fact that you get grenades early on in the game and it doesn't tell you how to equip them or change what you're right. So stuff like that needs to be worked on, I think. And then I still think even if Joey's 4 hours, I think this game could have gotten away easily with 2 hours and not showing you the monster.
Oh, okay.
All
right,
I do
fair
think
enough.
that. Yeah.
So 6.5 and a recommend from Slade. Tim?
Yes.
Never thought I'd say this. I'm actually in the same boat. 6.5 with a recommend. I stop me if you've heard this before. I don't think it was as scary as the very first game in the series. I think, again, it's lacking the body horror that I kind of associate with the Amnesia. The controls are confusing at best and frustrating at worst. The very cliche monologuing is grating, to say the least. But this game had great atmosphere. The gun being used as a puzzle-solving tool was a really interesting idea. The central generator room was cool. And one thing I didn't notice as a bit of a design choice, the turning on of the lantern in that safe room as a save point, I like that. It was just a cool little touch. I'd probably recommend it. It's fine. I think it's a very good entry-level horror game because it's short. You'll know if you'll like it quick enough. But yeah, I mean, it probably could do with a bit more monster build-up, but I don't like the monster in the first place.
Okay. I think because I played on mouse and keyboard, I had a better experience of the controls than you. I think if we're going to say we're recommending this, I thoroughly recommend playing it on PC, mouse and keyboard. Because even then at the start, it was a bit jarring to the way that Amnesia controls in the first place. However, you get used to it and it becomes second nature very quickly. I'm going to strongly recommend this, but give it an 8 out of 10. Tim's statement of it's a entry level horror, I think, is absolutely fair. But yeah, take your time and enjoy it. There's a couple of things with this. It's a 35 gig game, so it's not tiny, but it's not big.
I think my recommendation also comes that it's on Game Pass.
Yes.
Just install it real quick. What do you have to lose? Give it a shot. It's not
or stream it if you've got Game Pass Ultimate. That's how I did it.
Yeah, so it's not a big time commitment. It's not a big download. It's worth giving it a shot.
Good. The other thing I wanted to tell you, gentlemen, is on my main run, I completed this in 4 and a bit hours. On my first 15 run-throughs of the game, it was between 2 and 3 minutes. If you ever want to get into speedrunning, this is an exceptionally easy benchmark to get into. I showed Tim the speedrun 2 or 3 times, and it's a pretty fun one.
You should get your scores on the leaderboard at some point. Just do a stream on the Game Club Pod stream, or Twitch rather. And
if I hit my quickest time, I'd be in the top 70 in the world.
There you go.
On that. So I could be an esports gamer like Wembembo.
But you don't have goose knowledge.
Cool. Well, Slade, what does that give us as an overall score?
That gives us a 7 out of 10.
I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair. Okay, great. So that was Amnesia the Bunker. We recommend it. 7 out of 10, which for the Game Club Pod, you'll know is a pretty good score. What are we playing in 2 weeks, Tim?
We're playing a game that I said in a bonus episode, I think it was, that I was the most excited for all year. We're playing the Yorg, or as Slade, I think, called it in the Discord, the Yeehorg.
The Yeehorg. Cool. Well, stick around for the post-amble, but we'll see you in 2 weeks for the Yeehorg.
Yeehorg!
Oh, before we do go to the post-amble, Slade, do you want to plug your socials?
No, because you're just going to make fun of me.
Okay, Tim, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, just go listen to the Fanatics and follow me at Wembembo on everything.
Cool. You can find Slade at Slade Plays Games on everything, or at Slade's Life on Twitch. Not Twitch, on Instagram. Jesus Christ.
No, you make fun of me.
Yeah, sorry. If I want to make fun, I need to go and at Slade's Life on Instagram. That's how he says it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see you in the post-amble.
Join us next time, everyone, where Slade will be doing different forms of origami to see which one is the easiest to swallow.
Cool. Have fun learning that in 2 weeks, Slade.
Thanks. 5 minutes after the...
Don't break the illusion. All right. Okay. We're going into the post-amble. See you all later.
Post-amble.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, who won the game last time? I believe it was Tim.
I think it might have been.
I think it was Tim.
Tim, this gives you a double advantage. Well, no, a single advantage and no advantage whatsoever if you really want to think about it technically. Do you want quiz 1 or quiz 2?
2.
Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna.
What the hell is it?
Can't remember.
Oh, the sun again.
What the hell is
I
it?
can't remember.
The hell?
I can't remember. Can't remember. What the hell is it?
What game is the quote from?
I love that theme so much. I completely forgot about it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. So this is a quiz we've done before, I believe.
Yes.
What game is the quote from? There are 5 questions. All of these you may know. I don't know. Guess that's how quizzes work. If you think you know the answer, just say your name and I will choose the one who I heard first. Okay?
All right.
Cool. So the quote... I should say you get 1 point for the game and a bonus point if you can tell me which character in the game said it.
Okay.
So there are 10 points available here.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Question 1.
A man chooses. A slave obeys.
Tim.
Slade.
Tim.
That is from BioShock, and I want to say that is Atlas Ryan, I think his name is, off the top of my head.
Nope.
Damn.
You get 1 point because it was Andrew Ryan.
Okay.
Question 2.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
Slade.
Slade.
That is Half-Life 2, and that's the G-Man.
2 points for Slade. I hope one of you is keeping score because I am.
I can. Give me a minute. All right.
I have 2 points. That's one more
Tim,
point than Tim because I can do math.
So you are
2.
keeping score. Thanks.
Cool.
Okay. Question 3.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.
Tim. That is from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and it is said by Dracula.
That is double points for Tim. Question number 4.
Science isn't about why. It's
Slade.
about why not.
Slade.
Yeah, that's going to be Portal 2, and that's Cave Johnson.
Double points for Slade. Well done. Question 5. And Tim, can you just give us an update on the scores?
3-4. So Slade.
In Slade's favour. Okay. Question number 5. Are you a boy or a girl?
Tim.
Tim.
That is from Pokemon, specifically. Oh, well, I'm going to go with Generation 1 Red and Blue, and it's Professor Oak.
Tim. Tim.
Tim wins. Fatality.
Congratulations, Tim. Slade, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, 2 other games that I haven't played are on there.
This is not called the quiz section of things that Slade knows, because that would be shit. So anyway, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.